There are many people who believe that by ending the life of a criminal through capital punishment is the answer to deter others from committing the same crime. But statistically speaking, crimes have not gone down in the states where capital punishment is still in practice. Although sociologists present different reasons for this phenomenon, Spiritist philosophy contends that in reality, the criminal didn't die. He was just brutally removed from his body, and as a result, he continues to haunt and harm the society in which he was physically present. Spiritism states that death doesn't exist, and that everyone continues to live after the body was destroyed. Thus, capital punishment does not solve anything. As a matter of fact, it exacerbates the problem, because now the criminal has complete freedom to do as he pleases. He might seek revenge by the process of obsession. Obsession is the means by which a spirit exerts a negative influence over someone else. An individual who passed to the other side by capital punishment might exert his negative influence by inducing other criminals to actually commit more crimes. He can also cause nightmares, drive to insanity and addiction those who were directly responsible for his death. On the other hand, if a criminal died and he had already had a change of mind, he might understand those who killed him and not seek revenge. But still, they will have negative feelings because there could have been an alternative solution besides capital punishment. Later on, that same individual who was subjected to capital punishment might reincarnate in the same society which killed him. And because he might retain the hatred for all of those who killed him, he might become a troubled child, an angry teenager, and probably, as an adult, he might become a worse criminal than he was before. So, from this perspective, it is obvious that capital punishment is not a solution. An old argument about capital punishment is, how can we teach people not to kill by killing? How can we change our society when we still apply primitive methods to avert crime? It's true that since the medieval times, much progress has been achieved in the legal and incarceration system, but there is still much work to be done. Ideally, a criminal should be educated while in the prison system, not only intellectual education, which helps the inmate with his financial future, but rather moral education, which induces behavior change. Not all cases, but many of them, those who commit crimes worthy of capital punishment were children who were love-starved, and their actions were a means to revenge from society. The indifference towards them. There are few exceptions to this rule, but in general, a child who doesn't receive the most important ingredient for psychological growth, love, he or she might eventually grow to become what is generally labeled as a troublemaker. Allan Kardec, the codifier of the Spiritism, in many parts of the Spirit's book, refers to education as the most powerful means to create a new society. Not only intellectual education per se, which is needed, but only nourishes the brain, but above all, moral education, which will forge positive characters into our hearts and society. When an individual has great intelligence but no morals, he or she could use their knowledge to destroy life. It is not enough to study the uselessness of capital punishment, but there should be a general consensus that our institutions need to be reformed. Our schools, our families, and sometimes even the religions induce people to be selfish. And there is no other worse scourge of society than selfishness. If we study all humanity's flaws, selfishness will be at the center of it. Selfishness is what causes individuals to not think of anyone else. And as long as they attain what they want, they could care less what happens with their victims. The same principle applies to groups of people. For example, a country might inflict pain onto another country through wars just to exploit the other country's resources, without any consideration of the end result to the people. With this final analysis, it is clear that we need to reform our institutions. Their efforts should be towards the elimination of selfishness. Then, and only then, capital punishment will be a thing of the past, and wars will no longer be necessary, because the people will care and respect one another. And our greatest concern will not be to attend to our individual needs, but all of us will work towards the common good of all.